Good morning. I am Mahesh Kumar, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at B.V. Raju Institute of Technology, Narsapur campus. I am dealing with the course Computational Thinking and Programming. I am going to discuss about control structures to solve computational problems. So in the previous sessions, we have discussed about different if statements. In this session, we will be discussing about how to make use of switch case statement in C programming. Switch case statement is very similar to if-else ladder statement. For checking multiple number of conditions in a program and for taking multi-decision in a program, switch case statement is very useful. So we will discuss about this particular statement in this session. So first we will discuss what is the purpose of using switch case statement. The switch case statement is a multi-way selection statement. When we use switch case statement in the program, the switch case will evaluate one expression. Based on the result of the evaluation of that expression, that value will be compared with the cases which is present in the switch. According to that, it will execute the statements which are associated with it. So we call a switch case statement as a multi-way branching statement. And what is the difference between if-else ladder and a switch case statement is, when we use if-else ladder, it is not so easy for dispatching the execution to different parts of the program code. But when we use a switch case statement, it will make easy for dispatching execution to different parts of code based on the value of the expression. So when we use the switch case statement, we have to follow the syntax. So what is the syntax that we need to follow in the program? So if you observe this particular syntax, the switch has to be provided with an expression. The switch will evaluate this particular expression value. So based on the evaluated expression value, it will compare that value with all the case values that are existed in the switch block. If you observe in this particular syntax, we have n number of cases. So all the n case values will be compared with the expression evaluated value. Whichever the case value which is matching with the expression evaluated value, that case block associated statements will be executed by switch. Now suppose, assume that if none of the case values are matched with the expression evaluated value, what is going to be happen? The switch will execute the default case. So if you observe this particular syntax, at the end we have a default block. What is the purpose of this default block is, when none of the case values are matching with the expression value, then the switch will decide to execute the statements which are associated with the default case. And in order to, now if you observe this, in this particular switch statement, after each case, at the end of the case, we have a break statement. So what is the use of this break statement? Why we are using this particular break statement in our code? So when expression value has been matched with the case value, we said that the statements which are associated with this particular case gets executed. Now after executing the statements of this particular case, the control has to exit from the switch. In order to exit from the switch provides a break statement in each of the cases. So when you don't have a break statement in a case, then the control will stay in that particular block. So if you want to make your program in such a way that the control has to be transferred out of the switch, we make use of a break statement at the end of each case block. So that is the use of a break statement in this particular syntax. Now let us see one by one the working steps of this particular switch statement. So first what we have done, we passed one expression to the switch statement. Whatever the expression that we pass to switch should be an integer or a character. So when we pass this integer or character as expression to the switch will compare that particular integer or character with the values which are associated with the case. Now you can see here, value 1, value 2, value n. We may use n number of cases in a switch block. Each case will have a value. So whichever the case value is matching with the expression value, that particular case block statements gets executed, that we have discussed just now. But when we do comparison of case values with the expression value, you need to understand that each case value in the switch should be a unique value. So all the case values what we use in a switch should have a unique value. So we call it as a label. The labels of each cases should be unique. Now when a switch is executed, the value of expression is successfully compared against the values which are associated with the cases. Right. Wherever the case value is matching with the expression value, that case block associated statements gets executed. Now if none of the case values are matched with expression value, then the block of statements which are associated with the default statements gets executed. And when we want to make our control to exit from the switch, at the end of the case we are using a break statement. So what is the use of break statement? Just now we have discussed, right? So that break statement will signal the end of particular case. That case statement will signal the end of particular case, which will cause an exit from the switch statement. So the control will be transferred out of the switch, and whatever the statements which are followed after the switch statement gets executed. So this is the working of switch case statement in a C program. Now when we use the switch case statement, how it will affect the flow of the control. So just we'll see this diagram, flow diagram. So switch will be passed with an expression. So when the expression is evaluated, we get a value. So this value will be compared with the case values, case 1, case 2, case 3. Assume that the value evaluated expression value is 2. Now how the comparison will be done? The expression value 2 will be compared with the case value. The case value here is 1. 2 is not matching with case 1. So the control will be transferred to next case value. The switch will compare the case value 2. When we compare the second case value, the expression value and case value matched with each other. Then the switch will decide to execute the statements which are associated with this particular case. So statement 2 will get executed. Now, after executing the statements which are associated with case 2, we have used a break statement, right? Which will signal the control to exit from the switch. So we come out of the switch in this way. And whatever the statements we have after the switch gets executed. So this is how we will make use of switch statement in our program. Now let us see example by writing a code how to make use of a switch statement. Now in my program what I want to do is the user has to enter his favorite color. I will be giving some options for the user. The user has to enter the option for the color what he likes. The program will read that particular option value and the program has to decide and tell the user that this is the color that you have chosen. So whenever we have to write such a kind of programs in a C, then we call them as a menu driven programs. We are giving some options for the user. The program will read the option entered by the user and it will tell what was selected by the user. So in this scenario, when you want to implement a code of menu driven programs in C, the switch case statement is very useful. So we will see this particular example. So what is the task of our program? The program has to ask user to enter the choice. Based on the choice entered by the user, the program will convey a message to user what he has chosen. So we'll write a program for this. Now, the first thing is the program should ask user to enter his option. So what we have to write, what is the code or instruction we need to write in the program? We have to use a print statement and ask user to enter the choice to select a color, right? Now you are asking user to enter the choice of his favorite color. What kind of options you have to provide for the user? That you have to write in the print statement. So I will give 3 options for the user. So in the same print statement, what I'm going to do is I will provide options for this. So after displaying this message, I will go to a new line, and in the new line, I will provide the first option and name of the color. So I will give a color name as blue. So this is the first option that I will provide for the user. And again, I want to go to the new line and I will provide second option to the user. So what is the second option? What is the color that I need to provide here? I will write the name of the color. And I will go to next new line and again I will provide third option for the user. So these are the 3 colors that will be provided for the user. The user has to select any among these 3 colors. So what is chosen by the user, that we will display as an output. So after this print statement, now the program has to read the input value from the user. So we have to use a scan function to read the input from the console. So what is the value entered by the user from the console is his choice, a integer value, right? So read that particular integer value into the program by calling scan function, and whatever the choice entered by the user, that should be stored in the program. So we require a variable in a program for storing this. So we will declare a variable of integer type where we will call it as option, right? Option is a variable that we are declaring in the program. There, in that particular variable address, you store the option entered by the user. Now the program has read the input from the console. What is the choice entered by the user? Now the program has to decide, and it has to tell the user that you have chosen this particular color. So in order to decide that, we are making use of switch statement. So once you recall what is the syntax of switch, a switch has to take one expression that should be an integer value or a character. In this program, we have given an integer value. That integer value, you have to pass it as an expression to switch. So we stored the value in variable option. The variable option will be an expression for the switch now. Now in every switch, we know that we make use of cases. So how many options we have provided for the user, that many number of case blocks you have to write in the program. So I will use case, and for this case I have to have a unique label. So for this particular program, I will be specifying the label as 1 for case, right? And what are the statements that should be associated with this particular case? So the statement that is associated with this particular case is the program has to display the chosen color for the user. So I will make use of a print statement, right? And what is chosen by the user? Percentile D, which is stored in the option variable. Percentile D, not required. Just we will display a message, you have chosen color blue. So if the user has selected the first option, then I need to display a message called you have chosen blue color. So this is the statement that is associated with the first case. Now in the syntax, we already said that after executing each case, the control has to exit out of the switch. In order to do that, we have to make use of a break statement. So this is the first case block that we have written. In a similar way, you can write two more blocks, case blocks. So these are the two more case blocks, and I will label this second case as 2, third case as 3 case blocks. Now when the user selected the second option, your program has to display the chosen color, which is green. And if the user has chosen the third option, then you need to display the color as red. So this is the implementation of this particular program by making use of a switch. And if none of the case values are matching with the expression value, then what we need to do? So for that, we already know we have a default case in every switch. So make use of default case. And what is the statement that is associated with this particular block? So when the user is not entering a proper value, we have given only 3 options. But if user has entered other than these 3, then your program has to tell him you have to enter a valid option. So that message has to be conveyed by the program. So we will use a print statement and we will tell the user that enter a valid option. So you can clearly also mention what kind of values he has to provide, either 1, 2 or 3. You can write in the print statement. So this is the default case block that we need to execute in this particular program. So this is the simple program. where we make use of a switch statement for writing a menu driven application. So once we will compile this program, so we used print and scan functions in the program, so we need to attach the library file where we will have the definitions for this particular function. So yeah, include stdio.h header file in the program. Compile it. So the program has successfully compiled. Now run the program. So you can see whatever the options that we have given for the user have been displayed on the console. So this is called as a menu driven application. Now among these three options, the user has to choose one option. So here we will be providing option 3. Now the program has to read this value, already written instruction for reading. This value should be compared with the switch value. Now the switch value is 3. The switch value 3 will be matched with case value 3, and whatever the statements which are associated with that case 3 gets executed. So your print statement in the case 3 gets executed here. So we have written you have chosen color red, right? So if any one among the options are provided by the user, the program will display that associated color has been chosen by the program user. Now we will run it with other test case. Now suppose the user has given an improper input for the program 5. 5 is not a valid input. The program will execute the default case block. So what was written in the default case block? We have written a print statement where it is going to print oops, enter a valid option. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.